I appreciate you all for joining the 8 p.m. Tuesday live. Um, Over the next few weeks, we're going to be going back to the basics. A lot of people have joined, built, or have just reached out to me or have joined the community. And a lot of people are beginners. A lot of people are lenders. A lot of people are wholesalers, fix and flippers, or want to be fix and flippers. And the main issue is everybody's still in green, right? A lot of people are green. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some advanced people in here that know exactly what they're doing. But let's say you want to become a wholesaler or you want to become a lender or gator, whatever it is. You need to understand what a deal is, how to evaluate it and determine if it's a good deal, a safe deal to either A, invest in or to assign to somebody. If you give a deal, let's say you're assigning it to an end buyer and you don't know what a deal looks like, an actual deal that a buyer would be interested, and you send them that deal, 9 times out of 10, they're going to basically throw it back at you and tell you, stop sending me trash deals. So a few other people mentioned this as well to me over the course of the last 2 months since we launched. And they wanted me to kind of go into like deal structuring and all the advanced stuff. And we did. We went into some more advanced stuff like raising private capital, doing luxury fix and flips, which is all cool. But at the same time, if you can't understand the basics, then that's all for naught. The whole point of this entire series is going to be focused on making sure you know exactly what you're doing so that you don't fail and instead you succeed. So what exactly is a good deal, right? Like what exactly entails a good deal at the end of the day, whether you're buying it for yourself or you're assigning it or you're lending on it, what determines a good deal? Really, you got to break it down. You got to analyze that deal. You got to make sure comparables are accurate. You got to be able to underwrite it, understand, let's say if it needs rehab, how to estimate what type of repairs are needed on that property. Of course, the paperwork needs to be legit and there's no issues or legalities that would stray you from doing a deal profitably. And so there's a lot of important factors, including the financing. We're going to get to the financing and stuff like that later, whether it's creative finance, cash, hard money, DSCR, all the fun stuff. That'll probably be way back at the end. We've already talked about financing plenty of times on our previous Zooms. But anything where we go over in this series, all the resources that we're going to use in this, you will have access to. Okay. Again, no barriers to entry when it comes to education and resources. That's what Built is for. I'm not going to move on to the next stage until I feel like I've either A, given enough, or I get confirmation from you guys that we're ready to move on to the next stage. Does that seem fair? Okay. Of course, if you have any questions or you want to be spotlighted, you have a question and you want to speak in front of everybody, just raise your hand on the Zoom so I can spotlight you. But nonetheless, we're going to jump in. So type a yes in the chat if you understand how to evaluate a deal. So we have a few people in here. So that means that none of you guys know how to evaluate a deal. Okay, there you go. Okay, I think. Kind of. Okay. Okay, kinda is better than not at all. That also means probably you have bad habits and unless you were taught the right way, you probably just winged it, which is fine. Now, based on that, okay, there you go. We got two people that are, I guess, 100% so far. Okay, cool. All right. Depends if it's a sub 2 deal. Okay. So automatically I can kind of tell who does not. And it's still, more than half at this point. Being able to analyze a sub 2 deal leads in is you still got to know the basics to understand that. So that's more advanced, but we'll get into that one as well. All right, so this is how it's going to be. Okay. During the next few weeks, I haven't decided how long this series is going to be. If you have a deal and let's say you need a second opinion, well, you can bring it to the Zoom and we'll go over it. If it's a dire situation and you really need help, we'll reach out to me and maybe we'll try to help on a one-on-one to get that deal taken care of. But anyways, so we're going to go over in the next few weeks, comping. We're going to go over underwriting, rehab budgets and estimates, offers, paperwork, deal funding, financing. We're going to go over all of those. And like I said before, all the resources will be given to you guys so that you have no reason whatsoever where you have a limiting factor or a barrier. Okay. That's from stopping you. The only thing that would stop you is yourself at this point. Now, today's main focus is probably going to be a mixture of both comping and underwriting just because of the nature of it. We're not going to deep dive into renovation estimates, like deep dive into those. That'll be on the next stage. But just basic overview at that point. If you can understand the basics here, comping and underwriting, then we can move on to the next stages. Okay. Now, what is comping? Comping is basically you're looking for another house in the same exact area that's very similar to your house, preferably renovated. Apples to apples. Doesn't always happen. And so you have to find something similar or closest similar. Now, I'm going to try to be as strict as possible with our comping rules because I don't want to teach you the art of it. I want to teach you a system, a standard operating procedure. So that no matter what deal you look at, without trying to be skillful and artful and comp like an appraiser would or anything like that, you at least know the basics to determine, hey, is this property really evaluated at this ARV? Would an appraiser think so as well? And that, of course, is needed when you're looking at, let's say, doing a refi, getting private money lending on a deal, doing a fix and flip, doing a wholesale. All of that's really, really important. ARV is key. Without knowing your ARV, can't really analyze a deal. Now, 99% of deals that wholesalers send, and if you're one of them, admit it, the ARVs are fluffed because they take highest and best out there. And when an end buyer sees it, well, they're like, well, this person doesn't know how to comp. So we're going to go over the rules today, and then we'll actually deep dive and actually search. We'll look at a few properties. I don't know how long this Zoom is going to be. I really don't. However long we need to take. But we're going to go into all the rules of comping first. Okay. Now you can write this down, get a notebook, pen. All the resources are already provided. If you guys have access to the resources I've handed out prior. If not, I will put them in the chat again, and you can kind of follow along. Some of the resources are self-explanatory, some are not. It is what it is, though. All right, so let me put this in the chat for you guys so you guys can get them. Now, to comp, you can comp on different platforms. I'm going to go over probably Privy, and I'm going to go over Redfin. It's very similar on every single platform. So in the chat, I put my link tree, but you'll see the free resources at the bottom. Some of you guys already have this, but you'll see the one with the comping folder. If you want to follow along, kind of go through that. Let's see. Let me make sure everybody's muted unless you guys raise your hand. Okay, so let's go over the rules first. In order for a property to be very similar or exact match, what does it need to have? Well, you want to assume it's a single family home if you're comping a single family home, not a condo, not a townhouse, not any other attached. If you're focusing on a single family home, let's just use that for example right now. You have a single family home. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, 1,500 square feet, 1980s, single story. Well, there's a lot more things to take into consideration, but let's use the basics right now. That means if you want to find an exact comp for this, you want the same thing. A 3-2, 1,500 square feet, a 1980 single family home, single story. Within the same area, of course, too. Typically, preferably the same neighborhood. That would be an exact comp, but that's not always the case. So we do have some rules to give a little leeway to make sure we can get as close as possible to a comp. Now, a lot of people, when they comp, they want to look at pictures first. I'm more of a data person. I like to see every single property first, forget dollar amounts, forget what the property looks like, if it's renovated or not. For now, let's just stack every single property that's similar to your property. And we're gonna actually get an example. We'll open Preview, we'll open Redfin, we'll kind of go through with it. But let's write down some rules. So if I have a 1980s house, well, rule number 1, don't go below or above 10 years. So 1990 or 1970 is your max and minimum, year range that you can go with. If it's after that, you're playing a different game, right? You're being artsy. And probably a lot of people will not even accept it. A lot of end buyers won't accept it. So that's one thing. The age of the property, right? The year built. Next thing, if it's a rule number 2, let's say if it's a single family home, 1 story, well, you're not going to comp it with a 2-story home, regardless if it's in the same neighborhood. So 1 story with 1 story, 2-story with 2-story, apples to apples. Square footage. Now there's a few different rules when it comes to square footage. Some will tell you, oh, as long as it's within like 15%. Some will say within 250 square feet. Some will say within 300. So keep it within that range. So let's say it's a 1,500 square foot house. Well, 15% of that is what? Or let's say 250 square feet. Well, that's 1,750 and then 1,250 on the low end. Keep those rules in mind, because if I get a deal or a lender gets a deal, they're gonna get an appraiser, and the appraiser's gonna pretty much do the same thing. So you got the year built. You have a single story home. You have a 250 plus or minus on your square footage. Preferably, you want the bed and bath counts to be the same, 3.2 to 3.2. Not always the case. Let's push that one back a bit, because that one's a little complicated. Let's go with rule number 3. If a house has a, let's say a garage, whether it's attached or not, covered or not, some people will say, well, that's a major killer. I don't think so. I think it's more like a $10,000, add-on or deduction. It really truly depends on what's the price point of that property. And we'll get into other additions and deductions as well on a property as we get into this. But let's look into the actual, let's say the lot size. In certain areas, you're going to find lot sizes that are above an acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, 4 acres. But most properties that are, let's say, in the city and you guys are targeting because it has a lot more activity are going to be, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, 12,000 square feet. And of course, we want it as similar as possible. But what's the range? Like, what should I not go past? I would say try to stay as close as possible to not going above 3,000 square feet difference. So let's say I have a 5,000 square foot lot size, and I have a comp that meets all the requirements except for that lot size, and let's say it's 7,000 instead of 5,000. Well, I'd probably take it into consideration. There will be adjustments, of course, but it's not as major as if I was going way above 3,000. Especially, you don't want to target anything that's like double. So let's say if it was 3,000 square feet and you pick one that's 6,000, well, now you're in the double range. I'd be careful at that point. I see some of you guys are nodding your head. So bed and bath counts. A 3.2 is a 3.2. But sometimes you'll find a 2.2. You'll find a 3.1. You'll find a 4.2. Different variations. Well, which ones can you take? The real, unless the property can add a bathroom or add a bedroom, right? Then you really can't take it. But you wouldn't know that you can add a bedroom or add a bathroom into that property unless that's the specific exit strategy. So of course you could take deductions or additions. But I would say stick to one variable. If you can't determine if you can add or deduct, let's say a bedroom, stick to one variable. So let's say if it's a 3.2, maybe go with the closest, most similar thing, let's say a 3.1, or maybe that 2.2. But lower, not above. Okay. Like, don't take a 4.2. Don't take a 3.3. It's better to be more conservative than not. So those are some of the rules. This is where it would be nice to have like a whiteboard. So instead, I'm going to share my screen and show you guys one of my SOPs. This one's for Privy. You can look at any one of the other ones as well. Now this goes a little bit more in depth in Privy. I'm not going to go over the specifics. Privy changes all the time, and this one's a little outdated. But the main things are there: the 10 years, the square footage, whether it's the same property type, bed and bath count, and there's center mile radius, preferably same neighborhood. Now, I did forget one thing. I apologize. Recently sold. A lot of investors prefer it within the last 3 months. Some will have leeway up to 6 months, but not really anything after that. The closer you can get it within 3 months, the better chances you're going to have. By the way, if you're looking for this document, it's in the CCC folder and they're under comping. We have to get you an iPad so you can connect it. I do have an iPad. I just haven't connected it. I don't know how to do all that paste stuff. You got to teach me. Yes, you're right, Lizanne. So major streets, major roads, highways, you know, you don't want to cross those, definitely. Well, we're going to talk more once I actually share my screen and kind of go through. Let's see with in the chat, who in here has Privy? Depending if I should use Privy or Redfin. I mean, they're all good tools. I don't care if it's someone else's. Okay, so most of you guys have Privy. I'm assuming because of the elephant challenge and all that, most people do. It's fine. I'll go over both. Okay, because Privy changes like every, I don't know, 2 months to layout. So we got to stay up to date on that anyways. So we'll go into both. I like Privy for on-market deals. It's not that great for off-market, but for on-market, it's great. Does anybody have a property they want us to comp before I just pick a random one together? All right, let's go, Lewis. Put in chat. You want to tell us about this deal?
What's up, Mo?
What's going on, Lewis?
All right. This deal is actually one that surprisingly I haven't talked to the person on. My cousin's an agent. It's another agent that he works with deal. We just like it. It's we want to do a fix and flip on it. I think it needs a total redo, but I'll let you get in there and see it. I just saw it this Saturday.
On market or off market?
It's on market right now.
Okay.
I think it's for 156.
Okay.
I think they have it listed for. Hold on, I'm putting it in the chat here now.
So I'll purposely analyze this deal both in Privy and Redfin to show you guys that both platforms suck, right? And comping and data. There's no perfect, resource realistically. Everybody's going to show something different. All right, cool. You already have this one under contract, you said?
No, not yet. But
you trust everybody in here because you put it in the
chat. I trust you. I think I think I'm pretty decent on the phones too. I think I can out talk them.
Okay. Well, I meant everybody else in here. Let's see.
As you should. Everybody should feel like they're number one.
Yeah. Okay, so like I said, I'm pulling this up on Redfin and I'm going to pull it up on Preview for both you guys to show you guys how to comp on both. At the end of the day, comping is comping. It doesn't matter what platform you're on. It just might look different of what you're filtering. All right. Let me put you aside real quick, Lewis.
Go for it.
We can see this. All right, so this property is a 3-1, 2 stories, 1972, 1,520 square feet. Lot size is small.
These are kind of row homes.
These are what?
So these are what they kind of row homes up here.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so well, we can already kind of see right here on this map. So notice I don't really care about pictures. That's more on the renovation side of things and estimating budgets for that. Like that's irrelevant right now at this moment. Right now, we really need to determine, should we even waste our time looking at this deal?
That's what I want to figure out.
Okay, because a lot of people will get a bunch of deals in their inbox and you need to be able to determine right away if it's a deal or not. Very, very fast. But anyhow, so you have 6th Street here. Is that a main road, Lewis?
For that way, no. Like kind of, but no. Like the way this area is set up is kind of like tucked in the back. Now there is a main road like right off of there, like right leading up to the hallway. I mean to the expressway over there. But
Okay.
6th Street is not it.
So this is how I see this. This area right here is literally its own neighborhood.
Exactly.
Okay. So regardless of main roads, this is really the main neighborhood that we gotta stay inside. On Privy, if you zoom out, you'll be able to see thicker lines. These thicker lines indicate main roads. Okay. Privy was designed for comping. Remember that. Okay.
Okay.
That whole entire algorithm relies on the comping strategies and systems in here. So that's one of their key tools. Now, technically all we need to take is this little group area right here. But if you're comping it properly normally, you're probably going to stay along the main road, right? And you're probably not going to go past this lake because it blocks the entire thing off. And you're going to take this somewhere around there. Okay. Your drawing does not have to be perfect. I know my kid can draw better. But the whole point is that you're getting everything in the area. Now, we already know that this, if you zoom in, you can kind of tell that this and this area are completely different. These ones have like literally double the lot size. These properties up here. So it's a completely different neighborhood and it's separated by this little green area. So I'm not really going to take this one into consideration. Let's just remove that. So there's these properties in here. Now, if you're following along, probably the comping and underwriting, we kind of go over on Privy how to do that by removing the enemies and drawing border lines and stuff. You can follow that. It's probably a little outdated, but it still works. So I like this. This is a very easy property to comp. Okay. Thank you, Lewis. So
some good activity in that area.
Yeah. I personally like to filter from the year built and the sold date to start with before I deep dive into anything, before I go into square footage, before I go into bed and bath count, garages, levels, all that. Luckily for us, they're all 2 stories here. Okay. They all have 1 garage, the comps, and all of them are 3 2s. Okay, so that makes life so much easier for comping. Now, Privy has an advantage. It automatically sorted out all of the properties that are irrelevant. But I believe this neighborhood was designed to be the same, pretty much everywhere. That's why we have an easier situation here. So real quick, year built, we don't want to go above or below 10 years. Well, there's only one that's 1962, and that's at the bottom, although we can potentially keep it. 1967. So that's fine. Lot sizes, pretty much all very similar. This one's a 0, probably just an error. We'll have to check on it. And then, of course, the sold dates. So I like to sort it by recent, but at the same time, I will automatically remove anything that's above 6 months. On Redfin, you can choose that filter, so it doesn't show you the ones above 6 months. On Privy, you got to manually remove them. So if we're in April right now, going back 6 months would be October. Well, that means any ones that are in August and September, I don't even want to look at. And you can go as far as say, well, technically this one's outdated too. So let's do that. That leaves us, that automatically reduces a bunch of properties. We don't need to focus and look at a bunch of other properties when they don't even meet our criteria to begin with. They don't meet our rules. They're not within, let's say, year built. They're not sold within 6 months. And they didn't meet any other criteria as far as levels, garage, bed and bath count, square footage, any of that. These ones were a lot easier just based off of the sold date. So now, since they're all 3.2s, we don't really have to worry about that too much. And the square footage is really, it's exactly the same, every single one of these properties. I want you to, typically I like to sort the property prices to kind of give a high to low. Now, this is where comping becomes a little bit, you need to be able to look at a property and determine if it's a preferred comp or not. Okay. Or you actually need to look at the pictures now. Because a renovated property is going to be the preferred comp over all the other comps that are half-ass renovated. But at the same time, that would be taking highest and best, and that's not the right way because an appraiser doesn't care how renovated you are. Okay, so be conservative. If you have a bunch of properties, unless it's like completely needs a demo, I would keep it as a comp, and I would take the average. Okay. Now, this property down here at the bottom are automatically based on the purchase price. Raise the flag. Number one, it sold for less than what we're even asking for. So that one right away screams it's not a comp, and it probably just needs rehab as well. And the only way we're going to tell is by actually opening this up and taking a look at it and seeing what went on with this. So there's not that many pictures, but you can tell based off this living room that it's not renovated, and people have stuff all over it. So that's probably why it probably sold as a cash offer, something really cheap. Now I like to see this and be like, oh, well, this is something that our house is probably similar to this. And this might be, I don't know, it really depends, a good price to lock it up at. If somebody else bought a property that's in similar condition than ours. So I'll keep that in mind. It's not going to be my comp, but I'll keep that in mind. So right away, let's go and look at the other ones. Well, right off the bat, it's clean. It's move-in ready. I wouldn't say two really high standards, but it's move-in ready. Okay. Again, it's a $200,000 house. What do you expect? Yeah, it's still outdated, but at least it's clean and move-in ready. Someone can put a tenant in it right away and they can do good with it. So that one can be used as a comp because it's decent. It's livable. Let's look at the next one above it. Is this one livable? Hell, this one's renovated. All new flooring. Yeah, this one's even better than the first one. So again, as long as it's move-in ready, you can probably take it as a comp. Okay. And then we have the last one, which was the highest price point. And what's funny, this one's not even as renovated as the second one. And it's priced higher. Well, they did the kitchen. That's where they beat them. $5,000 for doing a kitchen. That cost them $15,000. Was it worth it as a flipper? Maybe not. You can unmute yourself if you need to. But yeah, I mean, so right off the bat, that very last one is probably not your comp. So I would go ahead and delete that, but keep in mind of the price point because it might be close to where you need to lock it up at, maybe less. I don't know. We're going to actually underwrite the deal and see what that looks like. But I have 3 properties remaining, 3 comps. Investors love to see 3 comps. Love to see 3 comps because one comp could be coincidence that it just sold, they got lucky. 2 is better, but 3 comps is preferred. The more comps you have, of course, the better. But 3 is like the sweet spot. Well, based on this, I don't know how you evaluated this, Lewis, but if you learned something from me, you know to take the average right away.
Yep.
So take the dollar per square foot, add them all up together, divide them by 3 because it's 3 comps. And then we're going to multiply that by the square footage. This is beginner underwriting. This is not, getting into the nitty gritty and artsy stuff. Okay. This is just like, let me just take all the comps that I have without taking deductions for a kitchen that's renovated or not, and just taking the average. So 151 plus 148 plus 131. Divide that by 3 because it's 3 comps, and you multiply that by 1520, which is the square footage. Well, that tells me the ARV is somewhere around the range of 217 to 18,000. What is your ARV, Lewis?
Way higher and completely out of the range. I think I was like at 265. Like I don't know how I got that number or where I got it from.
Well, this is evaluating on Privy. We're going to pull the same information up and we're going to do it on Redfin because did you use Privy?
No, I don't. I don't have privy.
Okay, cool. We'll confirm that. So let's make note of that. 217, 218 is ARV based on Privy. Okay. Here's the thing. If you get a deal, before we evaluate it on Redfin, if you get a deal and you're a lender, a gator, a buyer for trying to do your first flip, and a wholesaler sends you a deal, whatever. Right off the bat, if they give you an ARV, just double check it. Trust but verify, right? Verify that the ARV is correct. If they're within reason, let's say 10, sometimes 20,000 if it's a higher ticket item, somewhere around the range, and it seems reasonable, okay, you can trust them. If they're out of whack, like in this, you're saying 260 to a 218, that's $40,000 difference on a $200,000 home. That's crazy, right? That means there's probably 2 other properties that sold for more than 230 at least. So it'll take you 2-3 minutes to like literally comp right away and verify an ARV or something. Let's go into Redfin. Again, you can do this on Zillow, you can do this on Realtor. It doesn't really matter. It's all the same as long as you get the idea of what you're doing. So notice in here, it shows me it's a 1.5 bath. Is that true? I didn't even look at pictures yet.
I think there might have been a little half bath in the basement, but I don't
Yeah,
remember
this
seeing a
one.
half bath anywhere.
Yeah, probably
I know
just
the bathroom was really small, the one that was in there.
like,
Oh no, the bedroom. There's one that's like a half bath and like the bedroom. Like I guess that's
okay,
the master.
that's fine. All right, cool. Let's just evaluate it the same way. So to do that on Redfin, you can click on the map. It's probably the easiest method, or go down and click on your map. Doesn't really matter. You want to see the nearby homes. The reason why I do it this way is because it automatically zooms in for me. And again, you could take the little pencil and you can draw. So no different between privy there. Now here's where the differentiation is. In the filters, you're going to choose sold. You're going to choose a 3.2 or 3.1.5. You're going to choose a house within the last 6 months. And here you can put your actual square footage. The plus and minus at this stage, what was it, 1520? So I'll just put it within the, let's say 300, since that's what we have available. And then was this house built in 1972? Double confirm that. Notice how privy is just a lot faster. You get what you pay for. You're built 1970. We'll go down to 60. We'll go up to 80. There's not that many anyways for us the properties. Okay. So we have a few properties in here. We have more than what showed up in privy. What does that tell you? Data is inaccurate. Okay. Not every system provides you the same data. But anyways, I'm going to switch this over to table because again, what I care about is data at this point. I don't really care about the pictures. And so you're going to go through this the same exact way. You already know these are within your criteria of, bed and bath count, the square footage, the lot size. Yeah, you can record. Okay. Square footage and within the recently sold and so forth. So they're already meeting your criteria. You do want to double check a few things because you have a 4-bedroom in here. And then you also have just off the top, another 4 too. And you have a 1,700 square foot property, a few 1,200 square foot properties. So do you want to take those into consideration is really dependent on how many other ones are more similar to yours. Okay. If I have a bunch of properties that are similar to mine, that I don't want to go out of range. I'd rather stay as close as possible. 3.1.5, 3.1.5. Why would I go out of bounds? Just to force a comp? To force my ARV higher? That's a normal thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We try to make a deal. We try to make a deal happen, and that's the wrong way to do things. I would not let emotion get in between comping whatsoever. It's a science, and just follow the rules. So let's go through this. Now, I want to show you something because you can literally just take the average in Redfin. Redfin has an advantage. Without even looking at the properties, without even like deep diving in it, you'll be able to see the entire neighborhood average based on your criteria right away. That cost per square foot. Now, a lot of people take that though, because they want to see the lows and they want to see the highs. And they don't really care too much in bed and bath count. Is it the right way to do it? Honestly, nowadays with appraisers, everybody does something different.
What
You
would be
know,
the advantage of doing that? Like, why? Why would I want to go that way, that route, especially with the lows?
because it's conservative.
Okay.
And there are buyers that do that. They want to take the most conservative route possible.
Okay. Understand.
Does that mean it's right? No. We're not really going to comp that way, but just to kind of give you an idea,
Got it.
uh, there will be people that do that. And it's solely up to, by the way, even if I take that average, it's still 218, by the way.
All right.
Yeah. But we're going to go ahead and remove some unnecessary things. So if mine's a 3, 1.5, well, I do not want a 4-bedroom in here. I gotta log in. Sure. Yeah, so let's see. Don't want this 4-bedroom. And right away, you can sort these by dollar per square foot or price points. And you'll notice the one that's the very least, let's say if I sort these, the 90 and 118 and 132, most likely these ones are not anywhere near rental, especially not the 90. We're going to confirm it though, regardless. We're going to click on it. We're going to look at the property and determine. I think this one was that same trashed up
Was it?
property. Yep.
Uh-huh.
So we know that one's not a comp. So I'm going to take that out. Next is the 118, which, by the way, didn't show up on Privy. Why did it not show up on Privy? Who knows? It's lot size is same, year built's 1 year different, and same. Well, it's a lot less than square footage too. So it's past the 250 mark. Okay. Is it renovated or is it rent ready? What is this? And the kitchen looks outdated. Let's see. I mean, they didn't even clean it up, right? They just left it as is. So it's not even move-in ready. Okay. This is where it's like, okay, it's not move-in ready and it's past 250 square feet. Do I want to keep it? Not really. Especially if it's on the lowest part. And then of course we're back to the same other properties that are move-in ready. Now, we have another 1,200 and another 1,200 down here. If we stick to rules and we say we didn't want to go above 250, well, the property is only 1,500 square feet. So 1520 times 0.15, that's 228 as far as 15%. And if I let myself do 250, well, that still doesn't even meet the criteria. Regardless if it boosts my ARV. So the 1224, both of these, I mean, this 172 is going to boost your ARV definitely. But do I take it to increase my ARV or do I be conservative and take it based off of our rules? What should I do, Lewis?
Conservative. Don't be like me.
Hey, everybody in the beginning, they start this way. There's a reason why 99% of deals are horrible. Because we try to force deals. But guess what? You're also losing a low one. So it kind of evens out at that point. All right, so we got a few other properties. Let's just double confirm and make sure they are decently renovated. or at least move-in ready. This one doesn't have pictures. Okay. Oops. Still move-in ready. Okay. So now again, we have all these properties. Still, it's different than Privy, but we're going to do the calculation all over again. We're going to take the average of all the square footage in there. We're going to divide it by 1, 2, 3, 6 properties. So 132 plus 141 plus 148, 151. Is that the property the same? No, it's not. 151 and 174. Divided by 6, so that's 149. So notice the average was 144. We're not that off, you know, $5 a square foot is not the end of the world. So that's why some people just take the average. But you're getting a more accurate number here. So 149 times it was a 1520 as far as square feet, that's 227. Still not 260. So this is why I said if it's off by 10,000, you might be able to, you know, believe their ARV because, you know, could be skewed based off of one property based on that platform that you're using, and data could be incorrect. But that's why you ask for their comps, right? At that point. What comps did you use, Lewis?
The comps from my cousin's coworker from the other agent.
Okay.
I don't have it in front of me,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
that's fine. Remember, trust but verify. Don't lock up a deal. You're especially if you're the one that's making sure that deals go through and that are legit deals. Trust but verify, especially a new person working, you know, and they're you know getting in. You're just as you know what I mean. You're not new at all, Lewis. I mean, we've been in this since the beginning, but again, just trust but verify.
Gotcha.
Okay? Double check their work.
Yeah, it's a solid way
Um,
to go by.
yeah. So in this case, it's like a what $9,000-$10,000 difference between the Redfin and Privy. Okay, I'm okay with that, but it's still not 260. It's not 260. Now, who is right in this scenario? The one that has more data, always. Okay, the one that has more comps that pops up is probably more accurate at this time. There'll be times where Redfin doesn't show that many properties, and then you go in Privy, you'll find more. So it works both ways. You can comp on Zillow the same way. You filter it, you go through it, and you pick them out. Okay, you look at the properties. Now, notice how this entire time I have not even looked at what our property looks like as far as condition. I just cared about the style of house because I don't care about the renovation right now. We're not at the stage of underwriting and rehab estimating. By the way, off the top of your head, Lewis, what was the renovation budget on this project?
Like 60 grand.
60 grand?
Yeah, like 60K. New kitchen, new floors, new bathrooms.
So basic
And
renovation.
yeah, it's a basic. And I noticed like there was some troubling roof damage in there, like in one spot. Like from the outside. The roof on the outside looked okay, but when you go inside, like especially in the kitchen, I'm like that's clearly like some kind of water damage in there. I don't know if it was the kitchen or what place, and it was one place that was like right around here too.
That stuff right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a terrible place.
Yeah, it's not awful.
Here's my thing, right? Like you could probably get away with a basic renovation, but not including that leak, right? That roof damage. Like that's extra. Um, I mean, what is this? Is it just that was taken out? Yeah, it was cut out. Hmm. Oh, that's nasty.
Bathrooms are really nice.
So I'm assuming this little basement thing is not, because I saw the other properties too, they weren't really renovated, but the floors.
Mhm.
So here's what you got to understand, your comps, even the highest ones that you do have in here, let's say this 174, how
Mhm.
far did they go with the renovation? Because you don't need to go any higher than them,
And that was going to be my,
technically.
yeah, that was going to be my question to you because a lot of the places around here look like that. And me and my cousin were going back and forth kind of about it. Like I was saying, like we can match the area. Like we might because and the last place you saw, like the fully renovated place was sold for less than one of the kind of spit job kind of places.
Yeah. I mean, it's decent. I mean, Chinese, but it's decent. And they made it look nice for a
They
$200,000
made
house.
it look nice, yeah.
Okay. Um, again, it goes back to you being either A, in it for the money, or you're in it for the pride of doing the job, and the finished product.
Mm-hmm.
That's solely dependent on you as a flipper,
Mm-hmm.
what your go-to is. Like I said, I mean, a basic renovation is fine, not if there's any roof damage or leakage.
What would be your experience advice?
Experience advice, I would get that inspected first.
Oh, that's a definite. We already talked this. We talked to an inspector today.
Yeah, so figure out how much that's going to cost, and then add that on top of your rehab budget for kitchen, bath, flooring, and walls.
Yeah, he was only like 450. Like to tell you the truth, he's kind of a friend of a friend.
Okay. $450
Yeah.
to fix a leak.
Oh no, not the fix. I thought you were talking about just the inspector, just for the inspection.
Oh, I'm not worried about an inspector. I mean, you're gonna
Okay.
get that.
Oh
I would
no,
get an inspector at the time of you know, once you get it under contract.
on the contract. Yeah, that's another thing that I said. But I haven't had my contractor guy go in there yet. Yeah, that's definitely going to be way more than that.
Yeah, because pictures will tell you one thing, and the other will, when you
Yeah,
actually get in, you notice, oh shit, I can step through this floor, and I need to replace all the floors.
yeah,
It's an older house. Who knows what's going on, especially with the leakage.
yeah. Well, that's what you can tell on the floor there. There's like some warping going on, like so. You know what I mean? Like it's like uneven. And I can tell that was from water.
Mhm. But anyhow, your ARV is way off. Your rehab, double check it. Make sure you reevaluate this deal before you lock it up.
Gotcha,
And worst comes to worst, when you get an inspector out there and it turns out to being ridiculously high, the renovation, cancel it.
gotcha,
And you get your EMD back. Because a good person that's boots on the ground will understand by walking through the property what it needs, typically, but they won't know what's behind the walls.
gotcha.
That's where inspector comes in. But anyhow, this was an very easy property to comp. Very, very easy property to comp. Typically, this is not the case. Like, I don't even know how you found a property that's this easy to comp.
It's a couple of, and there's another one like right around the corner. I think it's just because I'm having to got in with some. They're both agents. Like somebody bought them these deals, so they kind of had these on the burner already, and we're just trying to make something happen in this area that's got some activity in it. I do have a triplex I want you to look at that I think is, I don't know, it's just like a pipe dream for me. It's like 1.2, but it's in a decent area.
Most likely, there's no comps for it.
Yeah, like, but it'll be way harder
I would
because,
evaluate it as a cash flowing asset, like a business. If there's no comps, just to see, is it worth it, cash on cash return, or
gotcha.
um, cap.
There are also like some apartment complexes around there because there's like a hospital. There's like two colleges around that area.
Yeah, I used to live up in Pennsylvania, believe it or not.
Well, you lived in Pennsylvania? Did you tell me this already? Yeah,
Yeah,
you
my
did tell
first
me. Yeah,
first 6 years of my life, I lived up there. I don't know
okay,
anything else besides after that. But anyways, I lived up in like Palmerton in the Allentown area. Um, let's see. Well, do we have another property for us to look at besides that multifamily. We're not going to talk about multifamily
I
this year.
got you. That was gonna be personal. I was gonna get you on that one.
Yeah, you can reach out to me personally for that. Take a look at it. If not, I'm just going to show how to find a property and comp it right away. Because a lot of you guys are in elephant challenge. A lot of you guys already have privy. So I'm still trying to pull lists right now. So you're doing direct to seller? Yeah, you gotta unmute yourself.
Like, am I allowed to talk? I
Yeah.
just switched from DTA, which is all I've done since just before I was in sub two, to DTS. I walked away and gave my team away to somebody else. So I'm like starting from scratch.
Oh, okay.
Pivoting.
Well, it sucks to start from scratch. At least your experience did not start from scratch.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out what lists to pull exactly, what I want to do, I don't want to waste my time.
Is this more for creative or cash deals?
I can do either. I mean, if it's a cash deal, I'd like to, okay, so if I end up with some properties where in Tucson where I'm at, we want to flip them, fix and flip them.
Mhm.
So it could be cash, it could be creative, however we, novation, whatever we end up, doing with it. But, pulling the list elsewhere, I'm probably going to be wholesaling them. So if I can get a good 0% seller carry, there's
Oh,
always
yeah.
that. I don't know. It's gonna all depend. I still am not fully secure in all my not exit strategies, but all my purchase options. Like I know novations, I don't know what kind of percentages I need to be figuring out, for seller and me and, whatever buyer. And I can do this, the seller carry stuff, but I'm still kind of, trying to figure out, if somebody's willing to do a 0% seller carry, how high can I go? Should I go above what they're asking to kind of, get a
So
hold of that deal?
realistically, I know people talk about ARV a lot. When it comes to creative deals, I'll pay you $1 million more than the property's worth if I get the right terms,
So cash flow every month is what
Yeah,
we're
cash
looking
flow every
at,
month.
right?
Like, so you're buying cash flow at that point.
Right.
Now, if you're wholesaling it, that might be a different story, of course. But if you're buying for yourself, you really don't care because you know the house is going to appreciate to that point, let's say the next 5 years or whatever. And you don't
Right.
really care about the appreciation at that point in time in equity. You care about the cash flowing asset. So there's no right or wrong answer. And same thing with the novations. Whatever you and the seller agree to, like what percentages you guys agree to. Like you can say you want more because you're renovating it. But you might not get the deal, so like you gotta come to the middle at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's no right or wrong answer. Like you could literally structure a novation where you're getting a set amount of profit and then the remainder is split between you guys.
Right.
You can do whatever you want as long as the seller agrees to it. Like
Right.
creative finance is just open your mind and work something that makes sense to you as far as numbers, right? And that you're okay with living with. There's not really anything too fancy about it. It's just really analyzing and trying different, testing different offers and communicating and having that conversation, building that rapport to the point where they're like, I understand you're in it to make money. Well, this is my house. Let's at least try to work at something that works to the benefit of both of us. And that's
Okay.
whether it's a seller finance where it's for gain or a subject to that's for pain, right? Or novation can also be pain as well and gain. The psychology between the two kinds of sellers are two different things, of course.
Mhm.
And if you're used to a sub two, well, maybe you're not used to doing seller finance. There's a lot of people I know that only focus on pain.
I'm not used to doing the seller finance. So, I mean, that's why it's like, wow, like I'm really just jumped off the cliff and here we go. And, I'm going to figure it out as we go. I appreciate anybody that will have a conversation with me about it, like you just did. You really, I mean, just what you just said makes so much sense,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, you
I
know
have a
you
long
can
way to
reach
go.
out to me whenever you need to. If
Okay.
you're working
I
on
know
a
you're so
project,
busy though.
yeah, but I have a one-on-one link. Just reach out to me and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
We'll make sure that, and this goes for everybody, like if maybe we'll do another Zoom a different day that's specifically for seller finance and specifically for, subject twos. Like realistically, the last part of this is deal financing, right? The last part of this entire series is that, so we'll eventually get to it.
Mhm.
But I know a lot of people like to structure deals and work the deals through a calculator first before actually communicating and doing all this. But I think it's really important for us to go through the basics right now for a lot of people who don't understand how to comp. In your case, you already know the basics, right? You're working on higher strategy things right now.
It's
Which is
always
awesome.
worth sitting through it again though, just because if you miss something, like I just realized Redfin is way better than Zillow to comp with.
Yeah, that's why I don't use Zillow.
Okay, so, it's definitely worth it always. And, the connections you make with other people. All
Yeah,
these names
absolutely.
on the screen, nobody puts their cameras on.
Because I have the focus mode. You guys can't see each other's pictures, can you? Or videos. I can see you guys'
We
videos.
just see names.
Oh. It's one of the spotlight features of Zoom. I don't know why it does that, but it is what
So
it
it's
is.
kind of funny. But yeah, definitely. And I was talking to Thomas and it was like we've always got Mo, so we always like, be like, hey Mo, we want to, help us with this one, JV partner, whatever, we've always got Mo. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
Well, let's leave that for a one-on-one, right? And maybe we'll turn that into another live, who knows. But let's go move on to another property. Actually finding a property on that MLS that makes sense. Because a lot of people in here are wholesalers as well, or they want to buy their property immediately for acquisition. And the fastest way to find a deal is through the MLS, whether people like that or not.
I
That's
have
the
one that
fast-
might be rough to let me see, to comp just because of its size. But it's a sub two.
I would not put a sub 2 deal on here right this second. That's
Okay.
not. I mean, we can comp it. Is it under contract?
No, it's
Then I would
not.
wait.
Well, I'm not sure I want it. That's why it's like that. But okay, go ahead, pull something
Yeah.
else.
Here, let me pull this up in Privy. Anybody have a particular location they want me to look into? I'm tired of looking at Florida.
Let's look at Tucson.
Tucson? Okay.
It's so easy to flip in Tucson.
All right, I'm just gonna push you back so everybody can see. All right, so, and of course you can unmute whenever you need to. So, you said Tucson. That is in, just zoom out. So it's pretty easy. It's one of the reasons why I prefer Privy. At the end of the day, is you can just zoom in and look at deals based off a certain filter. I know Benson has so much training on Privy. I'm not going to go into how to use the system. I'm just going to go into so we can get to find a property to look at and comp it. So I'm just going to make a quick filter real quick. This is 70%. Let's just run a search. All right. Does Tucson not have pictures? Seems so. Okay, here we go. All right, so this property, it's rent ready, but it's not renovated ready. You have a few properties. Unfortunately, it looks like the neighborhood is different and there's no comps.
Boy, it's been-
So I would just move on. All right, this seems like an ugly house. We can do something with this. And we might not have anything for this. And it's next to a main road. Lovely. Not too much. Main road to main roads. We really need to understand the neighborhood in this area. So one of the things is, if you're going to jump into a new area that you're not familiar with, I would try to understand if you're not good at zooming in and really just looking, because you can look at this and see the layouts and kind of see that it's kind of doing the same thing all around. Is it the same neighborhood? Possibly. You would probably know better, right? In these situations. But I'm gonna assume that it's all the same, just because I'm not from this area. And so the properties are pretty much widespread, so they're all evenly laid out. What we really care at this point is this something that, is this a good deal or not? Because let's just say someone threw you an MLS deal and it's like, oh yeah, this is a good deal. And then it's your responsibility to comp it out and underwrite it. Again, and then the day still goes back to comping. Doesn't matter what the property is. Now, hopefully this deal will be a little bit more challenging. We got a lot more comps to look at. Can I go that far widespread as far as distance? Well, how far out am I? Yeah, I have less than a mile, so we're still within range. We didn't go over any major streets, hopefully. Or within the mileage radius. So let's just look at this. Let's filter this out and let's look at the ones that are sold way past October, since we don't want to pay attention to that. The year built is above 1965 because that would be 10 years. And then the lot size, I probably don't want to take that one. I'll take smaller into consideration. Levels, this is a 1-story. So of course, all my comps need to be 1-story. The garage is a 1-car garage property. Doesn't even have any garage. Data lies. Is this tubeless? I guess not. See what this one looks like. Okay. Bed and bath count. We're gonna look at this, nothing more. If it's beneath, that's fine. 2-2. Or all 3-2s, it looks like, except for this last one's a 2-2. I'll get rid of it. And we don't know what that last one is. But thankfully, Privy has the ability of telling us what percentage of ARV it is based on our principal property. So anything realistically above a 95% is most likely not a comp, which a lot of these. Or it is a comp, it's just your property is already pretty much renovated at that point. So you have a 237, this one's really high, so I can take that off right away. Now I'm left with all these properties. Well, judging by this and based on the percentages, between a 81% and 114, that's still, you know, a really big leap, 35% spread, which probably means the square footage has to play. But Privy already does a good job of filtering that out for us. You might be able to remove the very last one, but if you look at the cost per square foot in these, we can take the average, or we can actually deep dive and look into every single one of these properties and make sure that they are move-in ready, which is funny because every single one of these are going to be move-in ready except for the very last ones that are completely renovated. Okay. Our property needs help. Right? You might consider this move-in ready. Some people might. I think it needs help. It's outdated. No one would live in that. But anyhow. So let's go into these properties one by one and try to determine if any one of these should not be in here. So 153, we just pulled that one up. It's rent ready, but not renovated. This one right here is move-in ready as well. We can skip through. Notice the style of houses as well that I'm looking at. They're all pretty much the landscape version. This one has no pictures, so that would be hard to tell. Charming and quaint. Blah, blah, blah. Well-maintained roof. Okay, we'll keep that one. Same style house again. Again, these are all just basic move-in readies. If every single property is basic move-in ready, then that's pretty much going to be your ARV. But notice how you find some that are exceptional. They're also priced higher. So this one's a little bit trickier. But let's kind of go through them all. Again, not really renovated yet, just still the old stuff. Still old. Just because you have carpet does not mean your house is updated. All right, so this has new flooring. Okay. This is where things get a little bit different. Even the kitchen is updated. But this price point's at 320. Where all the other houses, let's say we're 258, 280, 310. Oh wow. This 320 sold less than a 325 that was not even renovated. Welcome to the neighborhood. But what does that tell me? Because even there's more properties that are renovated. I mean, this is just painted. The floor is the only thing that's renovated in this house. And that person went all out renovating the house, and yet the people who barely did anything to the houses still all sold for the same price. This one's a little bit more updated. So realistically, the only ones that are renovated is the Oberlin and the Harvard Ave. These are the only ones. But that one's 320, this one's 352, and then you have a lot of 258, 285, 250s. Our property is 1,462 square feet. Now this property right here is 1,677, which if you were to do your 15%, it might not meet that criteria. What would you do in this situation? Yeah, you can speak.
Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, since we live in the desert Southwest, the houses that are not renovated, more modern, are more desirable. That's why you're not seeing a difference in the prices.
So what you're saying
They're
is
just as desirable with that old wooden and those old floors and stuff like that.
because it's a desert.
Because it's the desert Southwest style, yes. And people move here and they want that Southwest feeling. So
That's
the only
weird.
thing,
Why would you want something that's outdated?
it's not considered outdated though. It's
Sure it
considered,
is.
it's Southwest, it's Southwest style. Like those old like red floors, you know, the red Adobe
Yeah.
tile, not Adobe tile,
Those look like existing tile from the 50s.
Satio,
Yeah.
that is very desirable here. Unless it's a newer home, but these are older homes. This neighborhood. So the outside's a little funky though, compared to the inside on this one. So that's weird, but
Yeah, this one I think is, I mean,
you
I don't know,
see
it's completely different than the other ones in the interior at the top. And it's they definitely kept the outdatedness, doors,
the doors an 80s door for sure,
windows.
but you don't want to change the wood on the window. You don't want to yeah. It's
That's
very, it's
ugly.
very, it's kind of, it's Tucson. That fireplace is hideous though.
Yeah. So is this
But the
nasty floor.
carpet, yeah, the floor is gross in there as well. But that wood around the doors, that's got to be, that's, yeah,
I mean,
80s.
here's my take on this. I don't know Tucson, right? And I might not even care about renovating this property besides, you know, updating the floors and repainting the house because all
Right.
my comps say the same thing. At the end of the day, you match your comps. If you have two exceptional properties that did really, really good because they're renovated, but they didn't really sell for any price higher, then why would I renovate the
Why
house?
would you, right, renovate the house? Yeah. There
Yeah.
are things you would do in here, but not the whole thing for sure. Which is kind of crazy, but some of it you definitely want to keep.
Yeah. In this case, honestly, like I would just take the average of them all. I forget which property it was, this one. All the remaining comps in here. Because this entire neighborhood, even the cheapest one in the area that sold for, what is it? 153 a square foot was no difference than the one that was sold for 221. Now it could be
And you're like,
something,
what?
yeah. So in this case, we have a lot of comps though. I would probably filter this out by last 3 months. Just
Yeah.
take the average of those and be done.
That's what I was saying too. It's fun to flip here because of
That's not fun
you
though.
can
I
get
don't, I can't
you
take
can
pride
get
in my
away
work.
with stuff here that you can't get away with anywhere else. It's interesting. It
This
is fun.
reminds me of Texas, where everything's lipstick on a pig.
We got to get you out here so you understand. Get some stickers in your feet.
Oh my God. All right, well, let's do this anyways, because there's a lot of properties. There's too many to really. You could take the average of them all, be conservative, but let's just take the last 3 months with the data, and the rest of it we'll just say bye bye. And then just take the average of this to find an ARV. Okay, so once again, we're just going to add up all the cost per square foot, and then we're going to divide it by how many comps we have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 232, 221, 247, 212, 153, 240, and 198. Divided by 7. So we're talking about an average of $214 a square foot. Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an average, right? Multiplied by our square footage of 1462. That leaves us at 314, somewhere around there. Now this property is already close to, I mean, you're going to do some sort of lipstick to this house, remove the flooring and do the walls. You're probably going to keep all the old stuff in there. How much is it going to cost to renovate? Probably not that much. Unless there's something hidden that we don't know. You're flipping in this area, right?
I haven't flipped yet.
Oh, you haven't flipped in this at all?
No,
Yeah.
but I know of many people that do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's scary to me because if they're going half-ass on the looks, what people see face value, what are they doing behind the walls? What are they ignoring behind the walls?
Well, the other interesting thing here is we don't really have mold issues because we're in the desert.
Yeah.
So it's not typically something that you totally have to be concerned about. Where if there was a leak, that, on the East Coast or somewhere where there's humidity, it's concerning. Here, it's not that much. So it's definitely a different mindset here.
Yeah, I mean, here you
The
just got to worry
concerns are
about
different,
it lighting on fire and not stopping because it's so dry.
which doesn't really happen unless you're on the mountain, anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. All right,
I
jokes
mean, this is
aside,
the middle of town.
this is another property we just comped. We found the average, what the ARV is. Now, is this a deal to probably target? No, probably not.
Yeah.
Because let's say you did do a lipstick on this property, a short calculation, just say you're $20 a square foot to do carpet paint, and throw it back on the market. Well, how much would that look like? Probably somewhere around $30,000. Well,
Mhm.
284 minus 313 or 314, that's already not going to work. So quick math, without even having to pull out a calculator or some sort of spreadsheet or anything like that, you can analyze the deal and move forward. Privy does help with the cost per or ARV percentages. If it's not even within like 70, 75% or below, I wouldn't even look at it, honestly, for a flip, let alone a wholesale. Because it does it for you, the algorithm. Doesn't mean it's accurate all the time. You would still need to double check on like Redfin or whatever. But we just pulled a random property out of Tuscan. And are they gonna get this price, do you think?
Not 284, no, they're not.
Yeah, they probably need to go down probably another 30 grand.
I was gonna say they might get 250,
Yeah.
but prices are coming down a little bit, so I'm gonna say they end up selling at 225, 235. Right now.
I don't know. It's tough because this one right here is 258.
Oh.
That kind of makes it tough. Again, you're looking at all sold comps, regardless if they're renovated or not, because all the properties in the area are similar.
Right.
They're probably not going to let it go less than 250, probably.
How long has it been on
But that's the
market?
problem, because if everything in Tuscan is like this, that makes it really, really hard to find a deal.
Not everything in Tucson.
I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry.
Tucson.
Tucson. There you
Like
go.
said, Tucson.
Tucson.
Is not, no, this is center of town, and every area is a little bit different too, depending on where you go. So yeah. I mean, you need to know this city.
You
Definitely.
need to know any city you plan on comping and underwriting. You
Yeah.
really need to know it. Whether you have boots on the ground that kind of informs you what's going on, because you can do this remote anywhere. You just got to really have a network in the area to be like, hey, you guys' terrain is a little bit different. You guys got mountains over here. We got water over here in Florida. How do you do this? And really get somebody's expertise, their experience, give them, but get everything from them before you start doing a deal or analyzing, gather information.
Why is everybody talking about how that you should stay out of Florida right now because of the insurance prices and so on and so forth? Is it really that horrible?
It's
is it
bad.
just a fear mongering?
I mean, it's bad because of the hurricanes that came by. And Texas is the same too. And that's really for like getting a mortgage traditionally, right, and turning it into a rental typically doesn't cash flow. You would better off rent here in Florida than let's say, buying a property, right? Because the number one, house prices are super expensive. Like for a 1,500 square foot house in St. Pete, it's probably going to cost you $700,000. 1,500 square feet. Like number one, you can't really have a big family in that house. It's probably some 3-1, 3-2, whatever, and it's really, really small. And then on top of that, because it's close to the water, insurance is pretty crazy. Like on one of my flips, by the way, I pay $20,000 a year for insurance. And we acquired this one for like 1.2 million, but $20,000 a year for insurance. Granted, there's flood insurance and all the extra stuff.
Right.
But that's crazy. It never used to be like that. It used to be 12.
Almost.
I bought a computer.
Sorry, hold on.
You're fine.
Hey, almost. Okay, a few more minutes. Go ahead.
Mom, I need a copy something from the printer. Can you try to tell me how to copy?
No, you can't copy right now. Here. You want to use my laptop?
Yes. I want to use your laptop.
Okay, give me a minute.
You gonna let me borrow it?
I'll let you borrow it. Hold. Okay, go ahead.
It's a touch screen.
It is. It's my youngest.
At least he's using a laptop, not a phone.
He's not allowed to touch my phone.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it is a lot more because of the hurricanes. But that doesn't mean that things won't go back to normal. Like my $20,000 insurance used to be $12,000. So yes, it is a dramatic, like almost double. Can you still do a deal, creative deal and make it work? Yes, you can. Will you cash flow as much as you used to? Probably not. Will you probably break even in the beginning first, maybe a year or two, maybe. But you can also find some really, really good deals. It just depends on who's acquiring and who's the wholesaler, or who's really good on the phone and who structures that $0 down because insurance is so crazy.
Right, exactly.
That's another objection handling. Oh, you want this much, per month? I'm sorry, I can't pay you that because insurance is crazy right now. I'm sure you understand, don't you, Mr. Seller? It's like that's one of the major objections. Same thing in Texas, though. It's like Texas has that issue too. I mean, you hear everybody that like insurance is crazy in those two locations right now, and I'm sure there's other places too that got affected, but they're the major two. And the only thing you can do, just like interest rates, is continue buying and use it to your advantage one day when everything goes back to normal.
Right.
Do you just stop buying because, I'm not going to cash flow as much as I did before? That means you're wasting equity and appreciation because you're waiting more time and you're not really gaining any value of your money. You got to buy something.
Okay.
But at the same
Interesting.
time, at the same time, like that's affected flipping in the areas. It's affected pretty much everything.
How about, I'm like, I don't think my mom's insurance, she's in a little condominium in Miami. So I'm wondering, but who doesn't live in a condominium in Miami? It's
Yep.
mostly.
The East Coast is a little bit safer than, let's say, the West Coast of Florida. That's why I mentioned like Texas and Florida, right? What I really mean is like the West Coast of Florida and that side of Texas. It's really what's dramatic. East Coast is a little bit safer. It doesn't mean it didn't increase. It did, because we lost a lot of insurance companies too. Like they went bankrupt. And they did go up. I mean, you're saying hers didn't go up at all?
I don't know, I'd have to figure out exactly what it is, talk to her and find out exactly what it is, but I don't think it has gone up that much.
Is she in escrow? Or does she do it separately?
I'd have to pull up her property and tell
That's
you.
fine. Yeah, it's not that.
I know
important, but
she's refinanced, so I have no idea. She's like 85 years old.
yeah, if she is refinanced, then most likely it'd be an escrow, and there's some agreement between the bank and them for a period of time that they couldn't
Mhm.
change. But once that time frame ends, whether it's a year or a little bit longer, it's gonna come to reality. You know, it is what it is, though. We just got to deal with it.
Okay.
But yes, insurance is killing a lot of deals right now. And the ones that are still buying in this market, you want to really, if you're wholesaling, really latch onto them. Because, you know, let's just say 50% of buyers are no longer buying because of all this. And that's not an accurate number. I'm just throwing numbers out there.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. Well, how long have we been doing this? Almost an hour and 40 minutes. Do we need more time with comping? I know we got sidetracked a bit talking about, specific projects. Do we need another Zoom specifically just for comping, or can we get into underwriting? As we have, let's see. Let me know in the chat, please. Okay, underwriting. Okay, awesome. If you have a deal, bring it over next time. We'll analyze it. We'll underwrite it. We'll take a look at the rehab of it. We'll deep dive into that deal a little bit more than we did on Lewis's deal today. I noticed how I did not touch his renovations. There was no need. It was already a bad deal to begin with. If your deal is just as bad, we're not going to deep dive into it. Maybe we'll use an example. Who knows? But we will be doing underwriting next time then, since everybody wants to move forward. I do underwriting a little bit differently than most people. I like to underwrite a lot of deals together. For cash first before creative. And then of course you have your separate calculators and underwriting for creative deals and whatnot. And we'll get into all that stuff next time. Does anybody have any questions, want to raise their hand, be spotlighted, talk about something, anything at all before we get off tonight? Anybody need help? Everybody knows exactly what they're doing. Awesome. All right. It is 9:40 p.m. over here. I always want help. Of course, everybody always wants help. They're just afraid to admit it. Reach out if you need anything. I will see you guys on the next one. And as always, just make sure you guys pass the value forward. If anybody else needs assistance, make sure they can get this education. It's always free. You guys are welcome. I appreciate y'all for being here. Thank you so much. Have a great night.